Scene 2. A week or so has passed and everyone is very dirty now. Grace is laying on the couch. Chris is laying on his bunk bed. Abe and Sarah are sitting on a ground level bed, his arm around her. Phil is in the leather chair. The family is scared, and Phil seems to be controlling the situation. From their famished state, it is apparent that there is very little food or water.
Time for pills!
Phil goes to the storeroom and brings out a metal tray similar to those in hospitals. He brings everyone a small cup of water to go with the pills. They drink. All the while, Phil is holding his pistol.
Down they go!
Phil looks at Sarah.
Drink all of your water.
Caringly.
There.
While Phil is not looking, she removes the pill from her mouth and puts it in a plastic bag. No one notices.
Can't you put that thing down? We aren't hostages, you know?
I control situations. And my job, people answer to me because, well, I am good at handling situations. Now, in order to survive, you all must listen to me.
Why do you get all the food if it's your intention to keep us alive? And why don't you take all the potassium?
Because I'm the one who has to make the important decisions, and therefore need the most nourishment. Speaking of that, send Sarah over.
Why?
We need to talk in private.
Why can't we all just talk here?
Get over here.
Abe!
Maybe that's best. He has a gun, for goodness sake.
That's right now. Let's go in the storage room.
Wait! We have more important things to do. No one but you has eaten in 2 days. I assume by your decreasing rations that your personal stockpile is running low. We need to get more food and water if we're going to stay rational.
There is a supermarket down the street. There's probably some cans of beans and stuff we can find.
Alright, women stay here. Anything happens, I shoot. Got it?
The fallout should be less potent now.
We should all increase our dosage. But there isn't much left.
Grace does not need as much. She's a child. Let's move. We need to minimize our exposure.
The men exit right through the shelter hatch. A bright morning light shines through, and the wind blows dust inside. After about 10 seconds, both of the women are sitting on the couch together.
Wow. Alone. It's been 2 weeks, right? It feels so empty now.
I hope they're alright. The radio did say we only have a few weeks to wait before it was safe.
Yeah, but what if Phil takes all of our tablets?
We'll be okay. We don't need as much now.
But Phil is still getting sick.
Yes, he is overdosing. But here, look.
Sarah pulls out the plastic bag filled with some potassium iodide radiation pills and puts them onto the table next to the couch.
I have these for you just in case things get bad.
Mom, were you supposed to take those?
No, honey. They're extras I found.
What is it about him? Really, why is he like that?
As you know, dear, his wife left him. It was new news to us that she left for another man. He was a good man before. We used to have their family over for dinner quite frequently when your brother was younger. Things changed when he started having heart problems. They gave him a pacemaker, but his life has never been the same. He had to quit his job as the high school wrestling coach, and as that was too much physical activity for him. His loss of control only made him want more stability in his life. I guess that's why his wife left him. He began to show more and more selfish tendencies. When people like him lose control, they try to find it in whatever way they can.
The gun, right?
Yes. Don't worry, dear. He's too afraid inside to use it. It's for show. I don't think he even knows how they work.
So why do we still do what he says?
Because no one knows exactly what that troubled mind is thinking. Anything could set him off. It's best to just let him control what he needs to until we can get out of the shelter for good. There should be camps set up by the government to help people like us.
They won't split us up, will they? In school we read about the holo.
No, baby. Not like that. Everyone outside wants to help us. I guess they're setting them up right now. Come here, sweetie.
Grace lies on her mother. They fall asleep and the lights fade. Scene 3. An unspecified amount of time passes. Grace and Sarah are in the same positions. The shelter door bursts open. Evening light and wind enter. Lights rise. The men come in from stage left blast door, carrying as many cans and jugs of water in duffel bags as they can.
We're rich!
Thank God Almighty!
See what happens when you listen to me? All safe, my girls.
The girls have woken up now. Phil gives the women a smile and wink. Chris looks at Phil, but decides not to say anything to upset him. Abe looks away, pretending not to notice.
What's that on the tip?
Phil notices the bag of pills.
Oh, that was a mistake.
Angrier, he readies his pistol.
This here deed will not go unpunished. Now, what'll it be? Yes. You give me a moment with Sarah, and then we'll talk more.
Abe, finally gaining courage, shouting, and with exaggerated hand motions. No more! I've had enough. I don't care if you have a gun or not. You are not getting a piece of my wife. I've seen you looking at her. She's mine. You had your chance.
Enough.
Phil turns the gun on Abe. His hands are shaking. It is obvious that Phil does not know how to properly handle a firearm. He pulls the trigger. A sharp click is heard. There are rounds in the magazine, but he has not cycled the action.
Oh, shit.
Chris, realizing his opportunity, rushes toward Phil, who has started to cycle a shell into the chamber. They both fall to the ground, and the pistol fires. The two bodies lie there for a moment. Then Phil rolls Chris off of him, dead. Phil stays down in shock. Abe sinks down onto a bed. His hands are on his face.
Chris!
Sarah, rushing to him and kneeling in hysterics.
No, not like this.
Sarah backs away and lays on the ground in an empty spot. The lights dim except for a spotlight on her, with a fading voice.
Why?
Time for pills. I know you love them. What are you doing on the floor, silly?
The lights rise after the stage is switched. Sarah is laying in the middle of a patient's room in a psychiatric ward. Instead of corrugated steel, the walls are made of white painted cinder blocks. The walls are in the same position as the previous setting. A steel-framed bed with a table at its feet are backstage right. A door on the stage right wall leads into the facility's hallway. By the metal beds and the walls, the time appears to be around the late 1980s. Sarah's nightgown is actually a patient's scrub. The nurse enters from stage right with a metal tray, holding pills and a glass of liquid.
Chris, my baby, I love you.
Chris isn't here. He's safe. Look, I brought you apple juice, your favorite.
No! Where is my son's body?
She's acting up again. Bring in the medication.
Nurse 2 enters from stage right with a tray holding a syringe.
There. Here we go.
The second nurse gives a shot. Sarah becomes lethargic and calm. They lift her into bed.
What happened to her?
Poor soul. Her family was prepared for a nuclear strike since the 1960s. Borderline paranoid, all of them. The story that everyone knows is that the family got in a car accident. Only she survived, but with brain damage. It seems that she's now reliving the events that they were so worried about happening. To her, everything feels real. We have tried.
The nurse sees something. She pulls out a plastic bag with pills from between the mattress and frame.
Oh, gosh.
What?
She hoards her daily meds. We think she takes them, but sometimes find them hidden. I don't know how she hides them so well in her mouth.
Curious. What about family?
She has some distant, rich relatives paying for her. They don't come often. She doesn't seem to recognize anyone.
How sad. Want to grab a burger for lunch?
The nurses exit through the door on stage right. The lights fade except for a spotlight on Sarah.
Why?
Curtain and scene.